our plan was to have kids after 3 years of marriage, but we didn't end up making that. It was kind of within the first year. So, oops.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
You have some criminal charges with you, bro. Guess like we're avoiding the shark. Leather fetish.
Yo, great turbo neck guy.
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. This is episode number 44, where we collect experiences as badges, memories as treasures, and stories as wealth. In this episode, we tell funny stories of the mash smash, flinching false alarm, hyped up on hormones, and we also get into some deeper territory talking about life, lessons learned, and the blessings of family. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. So today we have on Brendon Barrios.
What's up?
And we have Alex Vollmann.
Yo. Yeah, awesome.
They're going to be able to recognize that voice.
Okay, yeah,
the person that talks like that for the whole podcast.
What's up, guys? I got to get a little bit more comfortable, okay? So we'll make sure that I get a little comfortable.
Gun on the table.
Yeah, you did.
Hell yeah, bro.
That's a cool gun, bro. That thing is badass.
And my extra ammo.
Nice Glock.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a Glock, bro. Don't insult me.
Shots fired.
What is that?
It's a CZ.
What is that? Is that like
company.
a rapper? Lil CZ?
It's easy. Hey, dude, you got to come to the gun range with me, bro. All right? Like, we got to go. I got to take you out and have a good time.
Okay, so how did Brendon and Alex meet?
Basically, we went to this baby shower, and we walk through the door, and I see this guy.
Full mustache.
Full mustache. And
Did
he
I have
comes
a
up to
mustache
me
at
and
the
he's
time?
like, do you like whiskey? And I was like, yeah, of course I love whiskey. He's like, yeah, you want some? All right, let's go into the kitchen. Let's get some whiskey. And that was pretty much, that was the start. Like,
Yeah, so besides, hi, what's your name?
yeah, it's just,
Do you like whiskey? Yeah, that's how you make friends, bro.
It's true.
You offer whiskey, you just throw your piece on the table, just when in doubt, whip it out.
Whiskey, coffee,
Whiskey,
all the
coffee,
fixins.
beer, wine, all that good stuff.
It's true.
You sound like an absolute degenerate right now. Dude, so how did we meet?
I think I remember you wanted a movie night, and then you had mentioned that you do leather night with this guy.
Yes.
Right? And I was like, oh, dude, like, let's just hang out. I want to meet him. And you're like, okay, cool. Let me set it up. And then he texted me like 2 hours before. It was like, there's a 50-50 chance that Spencer comes with a MAGA hat.
Yes.
And I was like, I like this guy already.
And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really.
Now he has a MAGA beanie also.
Well, now I have 3
You have
caps.
3?
Yeah.
I should have told you to like actually wear it that night.
Yeah,
too.
you should have.
Yeah.
No, it was fine. It was funny that you texted me, just so you know, this guy might come with a MAGA hat.
I didn't think you'd be offended or anything.
No,
like,
I know
knew
that.
that you'd be like about that.
But but what's funny is some people in this world just need a warning, and some people just love
The
surprises.
triggered snowflakes, they need a warning.
Sort of, but like maybe not friends with us, but like I love surprises. So that's how we met.
All right, what's next? Do we want to get into elementary school? Or do we have anything to say about our friendship?
I have nothing to say about our friendship.
Okay.
Nothing to add.
Okay, let's talk about elementary school. You did do
dude.
a booger chase.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Just rambunctiousness, man. Like, that's what boyhood is, right? Like, I grew up as a Cub Scout and I was a Boy Scout, and I was just always outdoors, running around, just like an unleashed version of myself now.
So now you're chained up.
Not chained up, but
That's
definitely
what maturity is.
Yeah, you're so mature.
older, wiser, and I got
Dude,
nothing,
okay,
I got nothing to prove.
tell
Nothing
you,
to prove.
one time Tanner Blake said to me, this was when we were like 17 years old, and he was like, dude, I know I'm only 17, but like I have the maturity of like a 25-year-old. And he said that with a straight face. Okay, talk about harassing girls with locusts and roaches.
Hell yeah. So
Roaches?
Roaches.
Roaches.
Yeah, roaches.
So more rambunctiousness, specifically, I think 5th or 6th grade. There was this one girl who kind of hung out with us boys. She was kind of like the tomboy of the group. And like, of course, all the boys have like a crush on her. Her name was Maddie Gemmel. We were like, oh, we want to like release some locusts, some grasshoppers into the girls' bathroom. Like, Maddie, you do it. And so she would like grab them and then like threw them in the bathroom for us. And we'd hear the screaming, you know.
The terror.
The terror, exactly.
Wow, that's good. Prank-wise.
What's Mash Smash?
All right, so in 5th grade, we had this like Thanksgiving lunch.
A thunch, if you will.
There you go, a thunch.
Perfect.
Wait, what do you mean? So pilgrims and Indians like reenact being pilgrims and Indians?
We
or like
reenact the Indians and taking over their lands. No, I'm joking.
Well, I mean, it's supposed to be a celebration of peace between them.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that is the point. We had basically just like little headdresses of feathers, or you get a pilgrim hat. And then
Nice.
we sit down and we'd have a Thanksgiving lunch.
A thunch, if you will.
There you go, a thunch.
Perfect. There's deja vu.
Turkey, mashed potatoes, corn, a stuffing.
The classics.
The classics, right?
Yeah.
All the greatest hits
The
of
classic
Thanksgiving.
smorgasbord.
So I, in my rambunctiousness, decided I was gonna smash my friend's face into hot mashed potatoes. And it like hot corn and mashed potatoes like goes up his nose. Poor guy. And he like runs over to his mom and he's like,
Oh, Mom, it hurts. It's hot.
and she laughs at him.
You and the mom just like laughing together.
We high-fived later in the parking lot.
That's awesome.
That's a good story.
What about flinching false alarm?
You know, okay, rambunctious, my dad would have to correct me. I got smacked a lot as a child. Right, and I deserved it. I needed it. And so my dad and I, one point, were with the family and we're like meeting the extended family, all my dad's brothers and sister and all that. So my aunts and uncles are there at this restaurant, and he just like lifts his hand to like scratch his head, and I flinch because I feel like I'm gonna get smacked. Just sitting there in like the lobby, and all of his brothers look at him. He's like, "Damn, Carlos, like, you really beat those kids, don't you?"
Lifts hand, you flinch.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you know, I put my hands up, right?
Everybody thinks you're just this abused, sad sack of childhood.
At least you only had to watch one hand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
At least he only had to watch one hand.
Because he's only got one arm, dude.
Oh,
that's right. Not that we need to bring up that story, I guess, but
yeah. So
You could edit that one
Brendon's
out,
dad
right?
only
Yeah, we
has
could.
one arm. But
yeah, that's the reason why.
yeah. Okay. What about Mr. Gaylordo?
Oh, gosh. Mr. Gaylordo.
Paging Dr. Faggot.
That poor guy. There was definitely some like weird stuff about him, but you know, I never really caught on to it. I was kind of oblivious to that anyways, you know, but he actually got let go because of like inappropriate stuff. I think he just like made some weird comments and the administrators just, you know, let him go because he was being weird.
You're fired. Get out of
Yeah,
here.
whatever. You know, I don't really care. I mean, nothing happened to me, so.
All you care about yourself. So
Shots fired.
dude, we had some weird PE teacher stuff as well.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's not really my story, but Owen was like trying to pants Luke Jordan, and they were like messing around, and then the PE teacher came in and he saw Owen behind Luke, and it looked like he was like humping him or whatever because he's like pulling
my
on
gosh.
his shorts. And then he's like
Wow.
and he goes,
Hey, I don't care what you guys do at each other's houses, but like, you can't do that here.
whoa.
at this Christian school.
I don't care what you do at each other's houses.
Yeah, it was something like that, and then it was just super uncomfortable for him, and then that guy died tragically. So
Oh, well, that's a
Yeah.
bummer.
Anyway.
all right, let's talk about the stapler incident.
You remember the Get Smart, that movie, the one with the Steve Carell?
Oh,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
The Steve
dude.
Carell Get Smart. So in like one of the scenes, they see like staples a paper to some guy's forehead. So that's what this guy does to me. You know, and I pulled it out and it just starts like warm blood coming out of my head. And no hard feelings or anything to him. It was just something dumb and he wasn't thinking. And then I went and I washed my hair and, you know, it ended up stopping the bleeding and stuff. And it was like, all right, it wasn't a huge deal, but he felt so bad for good reason. It's a really dumb thing to do.
He's a little terrorist.
You know. Okay.
He's bringing terror to you.
A little menace. I wasn't terrified, but he felt really bad. He felt really bad about it. So,
should we talk about the senior prom?
So tell me more about the prom and how amazing it's gonna be.
Oh, the girlfriend sagas, man. I don't know. It's like teenage relationships. Everything is magnified when you're a teenager. Like everything is a big deal. Everything feels like the end of the world, and it can feel pretty intense. But Raven was my second girlfriend, and we went to senior prom together. I think the first thing that kind of started getting her pissed off at me was that she like dressed up and she did everything, and I was like, wow, you look really nice. Apparently that wasn't a good enough reaction for her.
Didn't really think this through, did you? Did you?
She was like, wow, you look nice. That's all you have to say. I'm like, well, yeah, that was like my reaction. You expect me to just be like falling on my face, like worshiping you?
Right.
Like, what do you expect? Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, that's what most girls expect, but we can't give them that.
Kiss the ground they walk on.
Yeah. Like as if their shit don't stink. It's like, it's not reasonable to expect that out of anybody, right? I'm not a fan of that. I don't expect that of my wife, and she doesn't expect that of me, right?
Yeah.
So,
bro, you gotta stop.
I'm sorry. I'm doing
He keeps doing this.
Yeah, it's picking up on that.
Add
You know
like
what?
a track
Actually,
to
here's
this.
what I'm gonna do.
Take off your shoes.
I'm gonna take off. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. Just because I know I'm going to.
Yeah, you gotta keep doing it. He's got these big
becomes
boots
a song
and he's just
instead
like,
of a podcast.
you're a mover and a shaker. That's what my grandma calls me, a mover and a shaker.
Fidgeter. I fidget.
It's all good.
Well, especially with coffee and stuff. And then I get kind of like worked up thinking about my ex-girlfriends. So, there's that too, where it's kind of like not a super fun topic or memories to relive, but
Sure.
hopefully there's some value there. And, we get to blow off steam and stuff. Yeah.
Why don't we get back into your failed love stories?
Failed lust stories.
Yeah.
So senior prom started off with, a little drama, right? And that was uncomfortable. And, okay, whatever. We kind of got over it. We had a good time at prom. And I think there was like, I'm tired. I'm not going to dance right now or something like that. And she got mad at me for that. I clearly remember the last straw being at the after party. We were going over to somebody's house, and I had previously arranged that we were going to like play Call of Duty Zombies with a friend. So I brought my Xbox, right? And we had zombies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently that was like final straw for her, and I think she took it as, oh, you're not paying attention to me anymore. And it's like, well, I can't do multiple things at once, but this is my prom too.
This is much more important, can't you see?
Right.
Sure. I think she was like really mad about that. And then she was like, I think Amy's going to take me home now. I was like, okay, if you want to go home, you want to go home. Like, you do you. And then she got upset that I wasn't like, no, wait. I can't.
my gosh.
Chasing her out the door. And I think Amy tipped me off to it, where she was like, she's upset that you're not like fighting for her.
To drive her home.
I'm like, yeah, well, I don't want to. So
Call of Duty Zombies. Do I have to say anything else?
Yeah, would you rather drive home with this jaded girl or
Right,
play Call of Duty Zombies?
Yeah,
Right.
no, I mean,
It's a easy, especially
Easy.
for an 18-year-old, that's an easy decision.
look, I think moral of the story is that I think sometimes people have unreasonable expectations of each other, right? And we get pretty demanding of each other, and there needs to be at least a give and take and a reciprocity to everyone's relationship, because otherwise it just doesn't work. If you want to make something work long time, then there has to be a give and take. Like, for example, my wife now is at home because our kids are napping, right? And so if the kids wake up, she's going to be taking care of them until I get home. But there has to be some sort of like reciprocity with, okay, look, like we hung out at prom all night, we had ups and downs, but I made plans with my boy, so respect that. And not saying that I like the best boyfriend in high school. No one is, right? But I don't think it was unreasonable what was happening there. I think it was a little bit one-sided.
Sure.
And I'm completely objective and unbiased in this, so obviously.
Dude, my prom was like one of the worst experiences ever. And on top of that, because it was such a disaster with that girl, after she left and she went home with other people, then Jason Foster backed up his car into my Mustang, crashed his car into mine in the parking lot.
Dang.
I saw it coming because I was sitting there in the Mustang and I have no horn because the Mustang from 67s, they don't have a horn. So I'm just like, no. And it's like he can't hear me and he just backs up right into it and then just crushed my front fender. A horrible experience.
So you had something. You had something like similar. I'm a little bit unaware of this story.
Oh, dude, it was really bad. Yeah, I mean, I tell it like fully in depth on the podcast at one point because it's kind of like a 20-minute story.
Sure.
Of just like a whole saga of everything that went wrong with this girl.
Yeah. Which episode is that?
It hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
I'll let you know when it comes out.
Dropping soon. Right. But the stuff that I dealt with was petty. Right. And the pettiness is, I think, indicative of kind of a larger attitude that people have. Right. So if there's pettiness in the little things, you best believe there's going to be drama in the big things. Mm-hmm. Right.
That was a good statement. You got to write a Hallmark card.
That's why I'm on this podcast. You know, I'm just this is an outlet for all of my ramblings and my hallucinations. I'm just reporting what the voices inside my head are telling me.
Do people are actually going to believe that, though, because they don't know you?
They do.
They actually think you're crazy.
And that's their problem.
You're off your rocker.
You know?
I love how you're like kind of like off the internet. You're kind of rogue.
I am.
You're like a real life conservative who like practices what they preach.
I try. I try to live.
Social account only.
Talk about sneaking into the school at night. I know a little something about that. We did that all the time because my buddy Jason lived right across from the school. So whenever we'd have bean overs at his place, you know what a bean over is?
Bean over?
It's like sleepover plus beans, bean over. So
okay.
Yeah, we'd usually get Taco Bell and then like rent something from Blockbuster and then stay up way too late and go over to the school at night at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Hang out on the playground, climb the roofs of the school. We actually got chased by Mr. Smith on the golf cart.
I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, just like literally running for our lives and like going around the school, you know, and wearing like black hoodies and stuff. So like he just thinks we're a bunch of delinquents or something. Yeah. And then like once he finally catches us, it's like, oh, hey. And it's like, yeah, we're in your class. He's like, all right, well, you guys are fine.
Could have just offered him some beans or something.
Yeah, we should have just gave him a burrito.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I remember he showed us his gun too. He was like, oh yeah, like, you know, nobody messes with me when I catch them. I just show them my gun.
Dude, sounds like a man with the right priorities.
Yeah,
but yeah, so you snuck into the school at night as well?
Yeah, that was once with a girl, and that was Sarah. We can circle back to GCU, but I'm explaining that, you know, I bombed out of GCU. I went to GCU straight out of high school because I thought that's what it was expected of me. And, you know, because my family, they really value education, but I wasn't ready for it. So bombed, came home, you know, was just trying to live my life and pick up the pieces. And Sarah, I met her during that time of my life, you know, so this was like post rock bottom Brendon. You know, that was a bright spot, right? She was a great person. And, you know, it was really sad because she had mental health issues and she was really struggling at the time, you know, and she was dealing with like self-harm, cutting herself, as well as like suicidal thoughts and stuff. And I was just not prepared to handle any of that. You know, when you hear someone that you love talking about wanting to kill themselves, naturally you kind of have a pretty intense reaction, right? You know, so like what's going to happen? You know, so I run over to her house and I find her, you know, and she's just having a hard day. And I kind of realized at that point, I don't want to deal with this. Like, this is not for me. I mean, number one, you know, I didn't know how to help her. And number two, I didn't want that to be a constant in our relationship moving forward. So I give her an ultimatum. I'm like, look, you need to tell your family about this stuff. Like, you need to get help. And then once she did that, I broke up with her, you know, because I couldn't be with that. And that was rough.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
That was rough.
Really rough.
I definitely maybe could have exited more gracefully, but at that point, it's like, look, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and I'm gone. I'm just out. You know?
Yeah.
What was the look that you guys gave each other?
Oh, he just started chewing on something.
And he could hear it. Stop.
Brendon spitting some deep stuff, so.
And I'm all like
crunching on stuff.
Like, I got some ice, so.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that one was hard, you know, and it's kind of bittersweet in a way. There's a relief from not having to carry the weight of your partner's burdens, you know, like there is a cost and a burden to being with someone who's struggling with that stuff. Not that you shouldn't be with someone who goes through those things. Everyone has something, you know, we're all a little messed up, but I wasn't ready for that, and nor did I want to take on that burden. So yeah, that was me.
Well, it sounds like getting her support before breaking things off was the right move.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Could you imagine breaking up and then finding out that she offs herself? You know, could you imagine the kind of guilt? You know, I didn't want to be in that position, and for her sake too. I didn't want her to spiral into you know, self-harm or, you know, God forbid, taking her life. So yeah, I definitely had enough wherewithal to be like, somebody who knows what they're doing needs to take over, because I'm in too deep. I don't know what to do in this situation. Yeah. So yeah. And ultimately, I hope that it worked out for the best. It did for me, and I hope it did for her.
So let's talk about hyped up on hormones.
Yeah, dude. I mean, after Sarah, I was kind of a mess, you know? I was trying to get my life back together. I had just decided I was going to go back to school after GCU. And so I kind of just decided to keep my blinders up and not be dating anyone. You know, I was trying to focus, but when you're 19, 20, and 21 and super horny all the time, it's hard to keep the blinders up. So.
It is hard.
But I need another drink. So, you know, I met this girl. Her name is AJ, and that was just all physical, and it was all lust. It was not a good situation. Us men, the way we think about, categorize women as either wife material or not. All right. And you guys, like, you let me know if you think of it this way too, where it's like, look, either she's wife material, she's upstanding, pure, right, and like someone who I can see raising my children, or she's temporary. Yeah, temporary. And, you know, we'll just leave it at that, right? That's not a good way of treating people. I don't condone that, and I definitely treated AJ that way, and that was not good. I wasn't in a place where I wanted to be in a relationship. And so I was closed off to that. But I think she was the opposite. Women don't think in those terms. Women think in terms of, oh, he wants to sleep with me, he must want more, right? And that's kind of where their minds go.
He must actually care. You're like...
Yeah, basically. And dark. Yeah, dark. Like harsh and true, unfortunately. Yeah. And it was not that I didn't care about her as a person, but I definitely didn't have like loyalty towards her. Put it to you that way. So that one sucked. You know, she realized that I wasn't interested in a relationship, but before she realized that, you risked your life just to get some action. Yeah. Okay. Right? So she lived out in Riverside, and I was on my way to like sleep over at her house, and it is what it is, and it's just a 2-lane like mountain pass highway. Yeah. And you know, there was some moving van that was going slow, and I'm so like, I gotta get there. Yeah. And okay, I drive pretty assertively, I will say, and so I try to like pass on a 2-lane highway, and adrenaline was pumping, you know, and I like pulled over, and I was like reassessing my life. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I went to AJ's house.
Why though? So you're trying to pass this car on the wrong side of the road?
Yeah, I was on the middle, right?
And then there's oncoming traffic, and you're like barely dodging it?
Basically, yeah.
That's how the story's got to go, right?
That's how the story goes, you know?
That is crazy.
I'm taking these kinds of risks just because of some girl, you know? You know, ultimately I'm not going to end up with, or something like that.
And then you continued on your way and went over to her house.
Yeah.
Did the deed.
If Master Obi-Wan caught me doing this, he'd be very grumpy.
Wow.
Just move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Classified. And then the next one, under the overpass.
I think we went to a party, Halloween party or something like that, and she had too much, and I was like, I'm good. Like, I'll just walk you back to your apartments. So I was trying to be a good friend. I was trying to be a gentleman and like walk her home at night. And I had to pee so bad. Right. And I was like, I don't want to wait. And I'm just like, I'm just going to go right now. And we're underneath this overpass on the 57. And I definitely am like urinating in the bushes right next to her. And then she like turns around. I don't think she knew what I was doing. And she's like, oh, I just saw Brendon's wiener, you know? And it was like, it was not a good look.
It wasn't very impressive.
Shots fired.
No, it was not very impressive. Still not. But I still got 2 daughters, man, you know? So it does what it needs to do. So the other thing is that right as I'm like, you know, finishing and zipping up, a cop rolls by. I see him stop and back up. And then I'm like, oh shit. My heart drops into my butthole. And he's like, yo, what are you doing, man? You know, I'm just like, I'm sorry, sir. Like, I don't know. He's like, dude, if someone saw you, you'd be on a list. Okay, just so you know. And he's just like, he's giving me the dad lecture, you know. And then he offers to give us a ride back to the apartments. She's like, oh yeah, let's hitch a ride in the back of this cop car. And I'm just like sweating bullets. You know, I'm like, am I going to end up being booked at a station? Like he just had a conversation with me about getting on a list, and we end up getting there.
Onto the list.
No. We ended up getting back to her apartments. She was fine and all was good, but that was a sweaty moment. You know?
Sweaty moment.
Yeah.
Brendon's gonna drop a testi on us
After the story he just told.
Yeah. Testi, short for testimony, in case you don't know. For
also,
all of you non-Christians out there with a dirty mind.
How could you possibly think such a thing?
How could you possibly think that? I just abbreviate things, so. You've had a crazy life, bro. If you could go back, what would you change? What would you do differently?
Like,
if we could fire up a time machine.
So Brendon, you've used women before. How do you feel about having daughters?
Is it gonna come back to haunt you? No.
Yeah.
I'm already haunted, bro.
Dude, Haunted by the band Camino is an incredible song. Go tune in.
All right.
Okay. So we've talked about some crazy times. Where did that all lead you to in the end?
I definitely started taking my faith seriously, and it was really important to me to, you know, get right with God again. And Jesus says, if you love me, you'll obey me, right?
You gotta decide which God you're gonna worship, man.
And so I started taking his word more seriously. And so I definitely felt a call and a pull towards like, hey, let's get back into a church. Let's like go to a congregation. And I ended up at Grace EV Free. That's where I met my wife. You know, I was truly actually trying to keep my blinders up. And then that's when I met Mary.
And you told your dad, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
You were doing so good.
I know. And I mean, after this entire...
Like, Dad, you don't understand.
And all the angst came back, right?
You know, I knew that this one was different.
She wasn't in that temporary category.
No.
She was in the wife material category.
She is probably the best wife that I could have ever asked for. You know,
probably the best wife I have, if I had to pick out of, you know,
out of all one of the choices.
All of them,
yeah. My dad had good reason to say that. I mean, I just told you about all of the problems I've had with girls before, you know, most of it my fault. And, you know, I don't blame him for thinking that, you know, at the time. He was more concerned with, all right, I'm trying to get my boy to not be one of those 25-year-olds who are sleeping in the basement. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be one of those guys who just mooched off their parents for the rest of their lives, you know, grew fat and old with a neck beard, playing World of Warcraft and, you know, Guild Wars 2.
Cheetos in your basement.
Like, let's see, how many
Cheeto fingers.
What are all these games that Alex plays? Let's see. You know, like playing.
You didn't list any of them yet.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? Yeah, but no, I didn't want to be that. I had enough self-respect and dignity left that I was like, yeah, I'm not going to just stay here. I have aspirations to own my own place and have my own family.
Well, you got to set the standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the key.
So talk about that.
I talk about raising girls. Yeah, man. I definitely wanted boys. You know, we've already tried twice to have boys, and we end up with 2 girls. And so we're trying again pretty soon. But, you know, we have these girls, and the whole reason why I said, I want just boys, I want all boys, was because I didn't want to have to deal with boys.
You didn't want to have to deal with boys?
You mean girls?
Oh, he means boys coming after his girls.
Deal with boys that way. I see.
Yeah.
Because you know.
But now that's
you know
your past coming back to haunt you.
However, you know, raising them right, and also I know what it looks like when a guy is aimless and when a guy's just there to have fun and he's not taking my daughter seriously. So
you'll be able to sniff him out a mile away.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and my wife was not like me in those respects. You know, she's a very principled person. And so she was just a good kid all her life, like never really rebelled. She didn't have a rebellious teenage phase, which is not necessary for people to go through. Maybe certain people. You know,
you're looking at me.
Looking at you. Yeah, Spencer. Maybe
Spencer never went through that. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, certain people are destined to end up angsty and rebellious, and my wife is not one of them. So she doesn't have a radar sensors like tuned to this guy's a scumbag in the same way that I do. Right.
Real recognize real.
No,
no.
More like loser recognizes loser. Right. So that is part of raising girls, is being aware of, okay, this kid doesn't really take her seriously, so this isn't going to go anywhere. You know, it's about doing what you said, you know, which was like, hey, loving on them, being a good man for them and being respectful of their mother. Right. And modeling what that looks like.
Yeah. When did you get married and when did you have kids?
So Mary and I got married in 2019 in June. So we just like made it in right before COVID, the Rona, you know, and February 2020, we found out that she was pregnant, and March, everything shuts down.
Whoa.
So that was a unique time for our marriage, but also, you know, I was still in school at the time, right? So I had transferred and I was completing my engineering program at Cal Poly Pomona.
You went back to school, you prodigal son.
Yes, exactly. I returned to school. You know, we got married while I was in Cal Poly Pomona and was doing my engineering degree. And our plan was to have kids after 3 years of marriage, but you know, we didn't end up making that. It was kind of within the first year. So, you know, oops.
A lot of people's plans change too.
yeah, a lot of people's plans.
But
that's the thing, is that it's been good. It's hard being a parent, but it's good being a parent. It's kind of the same thing with marriage too. Like,
what's your favorite thing about being married, and then your favorite thing about being a parent?
That's a good question. Favorite thing about being married is just not being alone. Having a partner and having someone who like I can trust. Okay, put it to you this way: if the audience isn't already red-pilled enough, okay, like being married and having a woman who is loyal and is for the vision, you know, and like wants the same things, that's the best, you know. It's just
agreed,
like
on the
by your side,
wavelength,
wavelength, on the same page, and we're building a life together. You know, that is incredible. A really, really big satisfaction to being committed and having the loyalty and that kind of relationship with a woman. So I have that with my wife, and you know, I know that it's definitely what I think a lot of women want as well. I think that's a really good thing. Favorite thing about being a dad, man, it's good just watching how goofy they are, and just like, they're so funny. Like, my daughters are super smart, and my oldest one is like spitting carbon copy of me. And so she's like loud, she's fidgety, she's mustache. Like wanting to play and wanting to talk all the time, you know, just super cute. And, you know, daddy's trying to teach her how to be good, you know, how to love God, how to love others, she's very assertive. So I think the challenge with Ruby is going to be, how do we harness that alpha energy in her and use it for good, and like not allow her to become
Anakin.
Yeah, there you go, Anakin style.
You don't want her to turn to the dark side.
No, you don't. We want her to use her talents for good.
I will not betray the Republic.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But man, they're a hoot. They're funny, and they're amazing. They're adorable too. I got some cute kids.
Blonde hair, blue-eyed.
Yeah.
Little Aryan babies. Is that what they call them?
The perfect color combo.
Alex, what's your favorite thing about being married? Michaelin's sitting around the corner, so she's going to hear this.
Yeah. I would say having someone to experience life with and joke with.
Like companionship.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what you said, but like.
Yeah, you stole his answer.
No, I mean, my answer is pretty broad.
Your mom's a pretty broad.
But yeah, more specifically, like someone that you can talk through things with and joke around with is awesome.
Yeah.
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 It is good.
Someone you can depend on also.
Yeah, I think a lot of dudes take it for granted or kind of look at like wedding vows as like, oh man, ball and chain. You know, I have cousins like that who are like, one of my cousins, when he got married, they were like, I now pronounce you, you know, and they do like the walk back out of the aisle. And they took like this foil wrapped ball and chain and they like clamped it around his ankle and he like hobbled down the aisle like with a ball and chain. Yeah.
He's so like disrespectful and crazy.
I mean,
and cringeworthy.
On the very day.
Yeah, on your wedding day.
On your wedding day.
It's just, very moment.
that's how he jokes around, and you know, but even that attitude, jokingly, is toxic. You know, and it doesn't serve them well in a marriage, right? And I don't know how it plays out in their marriage, right? Like I'm not there to witness it all the time, so you know, they're still together, which is great. But I think that's how a lot of guys think, and I think that it's possible to end up choosing a woman who does that to you. And if you're going to be sleeping next to someone for years on end, decades, you better be careful about who you choose. No, I'm serious. You know, you got to be careful. And honestly, you only need to find one.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I think that it's kind of daunting for a lot of guys because they're like women as like this monolith of like judgment and like blah, whatever. And that's what bugs me about the red pill bros and like the MGTOW movement specifically. I would say true red pill is like marriage pilled, you know, where it's like, hey, let's have like good marriages, good families, raise good kids who love Jesus. That's like true red pilled. But the MGTOW movement, I don't know if you know what that is. It's called Men Going Their Own Way. That's what the acronym stands for. And it's sad because it's these guys who are cynical and just give up. They give up on marriage. They give up on dating. They give up on having long-term relationships with women of any sort, right? It's not Christ-centered at all. This is all very like secular stuff. Yeah. So it's sad. I mean, they're really giving up on a legacy. They're giving up on their name, their like surname and their bloodline. But that was like really impactful because I never thought of it that way. It's like sad because it's cynicism, right? It's like, oh, can't get with a girl. All these women are hoes, or like all these women are just gold diggers, right? They just want me just for my wallet. They're trying to get that bag, all that stuff. And that's what a lot of women say these days. So I don't blame them. If I were in their shoes, I would be thinking the same thing. Like, geez, how do I sort through all this mess? You know, number one, that's why you go to church. You know, you find a good church girl, you know, like, and unironically, yes. You know, somebody who has those values of, all right, let's treat someone like he's more than a wallet, more than a PhD, like whatever title on his name, and not try to treat men like transactionally in the same way that men shouldn't be treating women transactionally.
Well, you need a good foundation to build a relationship like that on.
Like I said, bro, we got to go to the lounge. Gotta get more of this. I mean, you saw me when I was getting worked up and I was talking about homeschooling, and I was like, you know, I'm just like downloading all my ideas onto your podcast, you know, and just like,
I'm here for it.
Absolutely. We got to do it again.
That's cool.
And then just let me ramble.
No, that was cool. It was cool though to hear your story, and glad we got to get that on there, and hopefully it's an encouragement to other people that tune in. So.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope people will learn from my mistakes, and I definitely am going to try to teach my girls to learn from dad's mistakes. And you know, if it's of any use, I'm glad. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. And Alex, thanks for chiming in, bro.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how much I really chimed in, but
you had some good ones in there. You know?
Yeah, you had a few zingers. And also we got to use your house. We got to use your house and your table and all that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Be sure to follow the show and keep up with me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout. And as always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
Inserting exclusive audio recording from the vault.
John, say that again, dude.
dude. Immortalizing the Spencer Whiteout podcast.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about it, it kind of does, right? Because if, for whatever reason, you happen to, like, you know, you pass away or something happens, right? You still have hours and hours of your voice and your stories that, say, family members and friends and people can listen to and be like, oh, that's right. That was Sean. That was you. That was, you know what I mean?
Which, honestly, that's pretty powerful, to be honest. Like, well, and that's why you make movies, and that's why you write songs, and that's why you make video games,
art,
and that's why you have a family, so you can continue on your legacy.
More of me.
And that's it.